Cost Pure Vibes.
In an ever-changing world, there is a demand for a voice, which echoes the thoughts and yearnings of the common man. That voice comes with truth. It's a voice of justice, and ultimately, the voice upholds peace. The Voice is Building Bridges, your radio advocacy platform aimed at building trust and fostering peaceful coexistence among communities, ethnicities, and groups. Building Bridges comes up every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. on J11.9 FM, an initiative of TEKAN Peace Desk with support by Bread for the World.
You are very welcome to the program Building Bridges. Good morning. Like I will say always, good morning Plateau, good morning Jos, good morning Nigeria. And today is the 25th day of August 2021, and the program, as always, is promises to be interactive, promises to be I wouldn't want to say exciting, but mind-blowing, and we intend to discuss issues that affect us. And security has been on the front burners. And last week, if you will recall, we had a conversation on counting the cost. Over time, we have lost so much in this state, in this nation, and we are counting the cost. My name is John Red, and the program is Building Bridges, sponsored by TEKAN Peace Desk with support from Bread for the World. And I'm not here alone. I'm here with my colleague Joseph. Is in the studio. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning, John Red, and good morning, our listener out there. You're welcome to another interesting edition of the program. As it's always, we seek to build bridges of love and bonds of friendship between people, communities, as well as groups, and today we're going to do just that again. And it's a very cold morning here in Jos, and well, the sun seems to be not too shining, but hey, we hope that the sun comes out and we get back to our normal activities as it used to be. Jos is calm, Jos is relatively peaceful, everything is going seems fine, if you will ask me.
Very true. And Joseph, we're not doing this alone. We're expecting a guest in the studio, and when he comes, everybody will know. I mean, listeners, you get to find out. However, you can also be part of this conversation. I mean, what we'll be talking about as we let you in on counting the cost. Last week we couldn't exhaust all the issues, and we thought it wise to bring it. So we will consider counting the cost again over time. How much have we lost? How much have we gained? Now, before we go on, Joseph, we have a segment called the Public Interest Corner.
Very well.
Yes, and on Tuesday, on Monday. Yes, what did you celebrate? So let us know.
Well, on Monday was designated as International Day commemorating victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. And as you may well be aware, in this part of the country and in this part of the world, religious-based violence has always been the order of the day, with various violence having the coloration of religion, as well as maybe based on your belief, So on Monday was set aside to commemorate the victims of this particular violence. And this is hinged on the UN resolution that was passed actually I think few years ago, and the resolution actually strongly condemns the continuing violence and acts of terrorism targeting individuals, including persons belonging to religious minorities, based in or in the name of religion or belief. That's been the order of the day here, even in the Middle Belt and here in the North and Nigeria as a whole. So we are actually taking that time off to actually remember the victims, of this particular violence. You are out there, you've lost one or two persons to this religious-based violence. We stand with you, we pray with you. May God comfort your heart, and may God uphold you through the trying times. As an organization, TEKAN Peace Desk, we deplore the unceasing act of religious-based violence witnessed in Plateau State and other parts parts of Nigeria. Now, the greatest casualty of these has been our shared humanity.
True.
Because at some point we seem to have lost our sense of humanity to religion, culture, or elements of identity. And we are humans first. So we are saying, let's put an end to our differences. Let's actually work on our commonalities. Let's work together as one. Let's embrace peace. Let's sheath our swords and embrace peace. Violence based on religion or belief should have no place in our existence. And as such, we reiterate the fact that your freedom of religion or belief, freedom of opinion and expression, right to peaceful assembly, right to freedom of assembly, once these rights are upheld, they play important role in the fight against all form of intolerance and discrimination based on religion or belief. So we're actually calling on Nigerians, we're actually calling on Plateau State citizens, residents alike, indigenous alike, let's actually sheath our swords, let's work together as one, let's put aside our differences, let's work together for the sake of peace, let's work together for the sake of progress, let's work together for the sake of unity, and let's restore back our humanity and commonality.
Very true, Joe. That was quite an interesting outline you gave, and like we will always see, no one has the right to take another one's life, especially as it regards your religion, your faith, your belief, and to even your social status or where you belong to. Humanity comes first in everything. I mean, God didn't make a mistake to give us options as we'll have it.
Very well. And you remember last week that we had commentators from our social media, and last week we had Nandom Liri. We promised to actually take their comments this week. He actually commented, he said, I strongly share the opinion that injustice on the part of the state in managing the public space over the years is responsible for the crisis. I'm, however, more pained to see the same model of injustice being perpetrated by the state in managing the situation, and that points to the fact that the crisis is far from being mitigated. My conclusion, therefore, is that the Nigerian state, with its penchant for injustice, is incapable of managing crises, but rather aggravates them. Also, I have commenting at Comrade Joshua Funakogi, said, religious, what are we fighting for? Are we fighting for the nation or for members? Let both the religious rethink and preach peace for ourselves. And both the religious leaders, we should tell our followers the truth that is in the holy book that we are using to preach. Stop killing each other, please. God is not happy and he'll never be happy. Love your brother as yourself. Thank you. And lastly, we also have commenting Principal Joseph Melumo. He said, the only person that benefits from any crisis or war is the weapon seller. The poor masses are the ones killing each other in the name of religion. Religion without humanity and morality can take us nowhere in Nigeria. I'll take that again. Religion without humanity and morality can take us nowhere in Nigeria. The truth is, we need each other as human beings. Why can't we use our common sense and live in peace with each other? Peace is priceless. Please let's embrace it. Mr. Principal at Tina Junction.
Thank you very much for taking those messages that came in kind of late last week. Yes, thank you very much for our contributors too. Yes, listeners, we are here. The program is still Building Bridges, and my name is John Red, and I have Joe in the studio, Joseph Ojideji. Yes, we have our guest in the studio. He's seated, he's catching his breath. I mean, he's done with what he's doing, and he's no other than Prince Charles Dickson. Doctor, good morning, sir.
Wonderful morning. It's nice to be with you, Joseph and John. And if my eye does serve me right with the glasses, I see Gloria sitting somewhere with a smile. It's one of those kind of mornings, but we're grateful for the breath of life.
Very, very true. Yes, counting the cost. That was what we started off last week, and we were just going back and forth in Plateau State. How much have we lost? How much have we gained? We've had over 2 decades of this conflict, and these things keep coming up. Again, we have also wanted to look at what's happening in Nigeria. But again, let's come down to Plateau State. Now, we are going to take a quick breather from our sponsors, TEKAN Peace Desk, and when we return, the program continues in earnest. Keep listening.
In an ever-changing world, there is a demand for a voice, which echoes the thoughts and yearnings of the common man. That voice comes with truth. It's a voice of justice, and ultimately, the voice upholds peace. The Voice is Building Bridges, your radio advocacy platform aimed at building trust and fostering peaceful coexistence among communities, ethnicities, and groups. Building Bridges comes up every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. on J101.9 FM, an initiative of TEKAN Peace Desk with support by Bread for the World.
You're welcome back. Now, if you will recall, last week we highlighted that we have lost so much over the past in the state while we're doing the counting. And you will agree with me that we've lost so much and we've gained, because like I said last week, we've lost families, we've lost friends, and those are human lives. We've lost markets, we've lost investment opportunities. We are known to be the home of peace and tourism. We don't have the right, if you ask me, to boast of that. We've lost agricultural opportunities and investment.
And perhaps, you'll actually agree with me that we actually watered down our sense of humanity.
Very
where we
true.
look at ourselves with the element of identity, we look at, okay, it's from where, it's from which religion, it's from where, before you actually look at what it can do.
All right, so let me hand over to Prince Charles. Counting the costs. What does that?
Well, counting the cost of conflict on the plateau in Nigeria is one dilemma that we never can seem to get off from. And this morning I will speak in very temperate, low voice, and intentionally so, because in times like this it's often so very the case that you lose your calm, you're agitated, you're emotionally packed, and then you miss the real issues behind the issues themselves. Counting the costs, I will start from a very unusual perspective. So this morning, probably 25 minutes devoid of traffic, counting the costs, some 30 or so persons have been killed. If you count the cost, it simply means that there are children who have become orphans overnight. Some about this time yesterday, they had their parents. Some of them had seen their fathers and mothers in the morning. And as we speak, they are lucky to be alive, and they are orphans. If you count the cost of that, you have more in the IDP settlements. If you count the cost of that, you have more children that will be put up for adoption, for a society that least believes in adoption. If you count the cost, I hear it's a Christian community, there are more widows for the women who are blessed to have survived this attack. If you count the cost, there are men who will never get around the fact that they've lost their wives and their children. That's the cost. If you count the costs, only a few 11, 12, 13 days ago, 22 traveling faithfuls for Islam also lost their lives.
True.
That's the cost. And so if you say in about 14, 15 days we've lost approximately 60 persons,
That's quite unfortunate.
that's the cost. If you count the cost, it gives back to a circle called revenge, retaliation, vengeance, and that doesn't even allow you to count the cost because it's ongoing.
Yes.
If you count the costs, unaccounted number of University of Jos students still missing. If you count the cost, a young lady who her only offense was leaving home on Sunday without knowing exactly what was happening, she's gone. That is the cost. If you count the cost, you would realize that there was a 24-hour curfew for a state that is not an economic hotbed. Several millions have been lost. In economics, we say there's what we call unbanked money. And I tell you this, from my rough estimate, an Amadu Bello way brings in essence of several millions cashed unbanked money every day. So when you close it for 24 hours, you can imagine how much we've lost. True. And no matter how we try to fixate on lives being much more better than the economy or, first of all, security of lives, none is exclusive of each other. You don't keep people alive and hungry. If you count the cost, I know poultry farmers, for example, who wanted to buy bags of feed to feed their chicken. And in that curfew, they were stranded. I know those who were supposed to dispose of eggs the following day, so they were stuck with eggs. I know those who were to sell their chickens. And if you don't sell, you're feeding, you're running at a loss.
True.
If you're counting the cost. I can tell you for free that I happen not to have been in state immediately after the conflict on Saturday. And when I came in over the weekend, it was very significant that the driver said to me, on a day like this when I'm coming into Jos, there's so many people coming into Jos for the weekend, but the road was practically empty. That's the cost. Before now, the 6 to 6 curfew simply means that there is a non-existent nightlife. That's the cost. So if I run a utility vending entertainment sector that comes alive by 6 o'clock and it's closed, I have to pay my landlord. That's the cost. The landlord gets the money, settles his bills, pays tuition for his kids in school. The school in turn pays the teacher. That's the cost. You take a scissors and you cut at the very fabric and the heart of an economic system. That is the cost. It's not every day that I get to disagree with Joshua, and I don't want to step on toes, but sometimes we cannot but, in fear of being politically correct, to run away from the truth. This is religious. It is ethnic. It is criminal.
True.
It is how you weave the thread that now determines what we call it. Muslims were killed on a Saturday. And before that Saturday, Christians were killed. It's unfortunate that that's what their fate is. That's their belief system. Now, it is also unfortunate that 3-4 weeks ago, it were natives that were killed. They were indigenous persons and they were Christians. It is also unfortunate, sadly so, that before that killing also, some also of other faiths and ethnic groups were killed. That's the circle we talk about. It is also unfortunate that after Saturday, Christians were also killed for finding themselves in the wrong part of town. This is the sad reality of it. Now, maybe we might say that crime has been committed. But you see, when you lay down an antecedent, Joseph, it takes long. It's not like most of us in the development sector. It's not because you've done a 6 months project and you say, oh, things will now change. No. I mean, you can see the effect of TEKAN Peace Desk on this over a long period of time. If you do it in a one radio program, you would achieve nothing. And hold your breath. Before these conflicts, we've developed a system in which armed robbers are paraded, killers are paraded by their faith and by their names. 3 Christians caught for armed robbery, 4 Muslims caught for
labeling.
We label, we profile people. So for somebody to interject in the middle of it and say, let's unprofile them, it becomes, then you don't get to the root of it. It's like, who started all this first? If you don't get to that root, it becomes pretty difficult. And don't forget, it is in a city that we're trying to heal. We've continuously tried to heal. Only a few days from now, it will be September 7th, and it will be an anniversary when our very entity and humanity was distorted. The fabric of the society was torn to shreds. We still live in divided cities. And so it is pretty difficult for people not to see some of these things from the prism and coloration of faith. And again, not running away from the conversation. What is the cost? The cost is that, for example, forget all the narratives. The distance between massive killing in the Basa locale that is housing the Rukuba barracks questions the cost. When we look at the costs of military to budget spending, the percentage, and the fact that Basa is often than not frequently on fire, and the army does nothing or does the least. And then you now say to yourself, If 22 people are killed on a road that is just barely 10 minutes from the barracks, and no soldier was out, no soldier was going in, that is the cost. If you look at the cost that, with what has happened in the last few weeks, in fact, to many of our listeners, you would realize that for some time, there was this WhatsApp circulation, these days you don't know which is which, that actually identified hot spots. So let's put it in perspective. If civilians, if peace builders knew where the hot spots were, if they had intel, what do you expect from the security apparatchik? So you find out that the cost is also our response time. Now, what is the cost? I listened to one of the boys who was abducted, the Bethel Baptist kid. And of all questions for someone to post to the lad, I hope you're fine. You'll be able to write your exam. After 48 days of trauma? And you're asking if the child will write WAEC or NECO?
That's quite unfortunate.
That's the cost. The cost, it's the pinching of our collective sensibility. The cost is that you and I are sitting in a radio station that Google mapped is actually a radius of each 10-15 minutes to where people have killed in their scores. And we're just alive. We're just like, we don't even, like, in fact, for some of us, we're even more concerned about Afghanistan than what's happened just behind us. That's the cost. The cost is that we're becoming a numbed society. The cost is that people are beginning to say, it's do me, I do you. People are beginning to say, oh, when they killed our own, nobody said anything. So why? You shouldn't say anything when they killed their own. That's the cost. The cost is that people who are supposedly learned, intelligent, who should have human empathy, are having some strange conversation. Now we will see what the governor will do when it is our turn. And when it was their turn, we're not saying people were killed anymore. We're saying it is our turn. The cost is we're saying conversations now about arming citizenry. And if you arm an angry citizenry, it's not just about killing enemies. We will all kill ourselves. That's the cost. The cost is also, like you said, it's not just the conventional formal education. If you've got a kid at home, and this is calls for sober reflection. If you have a 5-year-old child, a 9-year-old child, a 12-year-old child that walks up to you now this morning and says, Daddy, I saw burnt bodies. Or on Saturday said to you, they killed these people. What do you tell the person? These are the conversations. These are the cost of this conflict.
Over time, we've had it has become an abnormal society. We've become numbed and almost inhuman to a large degree. Joseph, please go.
Well, you're giving a different cost, different dimension to the cost of the conflict, and one would quickly ask, but in all of this, what is the cost of the justice, and where is the justice in all of this?
You see,
and how can we achieve justice?
You see, justice is often blind to several things. Never forget that. Justice sometimes is around the conversation of, let me put it, we're on a table. It's a tripod. John's justice, Joseph's justice, Dr. Charles's justice. It's my perspective, my point of view that determines justice. There is one side, there is that side, there is their side, there is a truthful side, there is the real side, and then there's all sides. And why did I put that in perspective of justice? I ask people, what sense of justice do you want to see? People want to see the perpetrators of this act across faith divides dealt with. And the reason why that should happen is because there is a law. And criminality has been committed. Not the tribe or the faith of the person who has committed it. Over the years, that has not taken place. There's a cry for justice. But you see, there's also the conversation about what form of justice. Now, if I've lost money, a property in the course of a conflict, and you find the perpetrators, do you compensate me? People tend to forget the word compensation. Compensation does not bring back.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Compensation, in fact, in the real expressive African expression, compensation is even wrong. It simply tells you, hey, yeah, take this, manage. So, how do you compensate for someone who's lost a father? How do you compensate for someone who's lost a mother? So for some of us, sadly, yes, we have opponents to my thought. We don't, in fact, the conversation around justice is not as forceful as for some of us who want to have conversation, John and listeners, around what we refer to as a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We want to hear the truth. I want to see the man who killed somebody in Rukuba Road. And I want to see the Fulani guys who killed people in Bassa. I want to see the indigenous guys who killed Fulanese in Rukuba Road. I want to see the guys who are responsible for what happened just midnight yesterday. I will look them in the eyes. I want to see repentance. I want to see a conversation. Because justice will not do it.
No.
Justice simply means we've caught them. What do you think happens to a guy who's caught killing? You go through a long process of judicial, and then you eventually kill him. Now, what people don't understand is, Joseph, if someone killed your mother, we've caught him. I mean, watch some of this series or go through some of this. The problem is we don't even visit the courts. If you visit the court for a murder case and you see the victim's family, every time you see that person, you're just grieving. And the justice will not happen in 2 weeks, in 4 months, in 1 year. It's stretched. The more it stretches, the more we're pained. The more it stretches, the more lies. Don't forget, when you say justice, it simply means that the murderer has a lawyer. He's being defended for the acts that you're even saying he committed. Now, let's dwell in events of the last 1 month. There is no truth. There's up to 10, 15 different, everybody has a story.
Yeah, different sides.
Different sides to it. So how do you get justice? But you see, no matter all the sides to it, there's one missing side. The truth.
The real side.
The real side of it. What's the truth? And that's where your conversations inter alia comes into, where as humanity we're not discussing Islam or Christianity. We're saying this is the truth and where we find ourselves in. And this is how we want to go forward. Nigerians, like never before, are divided. For anybody to come to say otherwise. Look, a major was confirmed dead. As I speak, one of the things that made me a minute or two late is that there are 2 stories almost with the same venom. That no, they've demanded ransom, he's not yet dead. And some people are saying no, his body was discovered. And the military, who ordinarily, by all technicalities, own the body of Major Datong, has not even been able to say to us, we have his body.
There hasn't a statement yet.
They've not issued a statement.
Now, coming
Plus,
back
you're traumatizing the family. And then there's a bunch of people that are saying, oh, it is because he's Datong.
All right, so let's come back here. Over time, we, as a development expert, we've had the cause to interact. Different stages of conflict and the stages. We are aware that there were signals from the beginning before all of this happened. It was at its latent stage. Now it emerged to where you had confrontations. Looking at different stages of this conflict. It's confused at the moment. Are we in a crisis stage? Are we? Are the issues still latent? Are we de-escalating? Is it frozen? What stage are we? And it's very, very confusing. Not to take away the reality on ground, but there are terms to these things. The terms shouldn't really shouldn't take away what is going on ground. Just like you said, you use the word relatively peaceful. Now, looking at it, Dr. Charles is already laughing. Looking at this, where are we? And is there a leeway for us to be able to? Is there something for us to?
Where are we so as to know how to preempt? Where will we be in the next?
Not even preempting, going forward. Because
I'm not exactly a medical personnel, but primary knowledge of medicine should come in handy here. And this is me asking. I think it comes from Joseph's place. The Yorubas have an adage that when you leave the leprosy and you're treating the ringworm, you can imagine the end product. Having said so I look at Plateau State, particularly in Nigeria at large, as a patient that is diabetic. And when you're diabetic, there is a stream of nutritional food that is expected for you to feast on. And the moment you depart from it, you endanger yourself. Now, it's not necessarily the diabetes that does kill you. It is the fact that you cannot afford to be injured. Because at any point you get injured,
It triggers
you won't heal fast. You almost will never probably heal. And that now defines, in reality, when we have that conversation around our kind of peace: fragile peace, latent peace, small peace, shaky peace. It's best understood from that analogy. The fact that it's a diabetic patient, we know what to do to get it right. I give a classical example again. There is a University of Jos that over the years we know is a target. We know when these things happen, which we know. It's not a PhD course. It's not an assignment to be turned in. It's common knowledge. So the question would be, if a deployment of army personnel, soldiers, or mobile police force, or whatever, was put there immediately, would we have had what we had? That's a question. So it's like you're diabetic and you're bent on taking sugar.
Well,
yes, sir.
We'll open our phone lines now. Listener, you can join the conversation. You can be part of the conversation. Our phone lines remain 09055666699. That's 6 in 4 places. Or 09098848848. Please, when you call, turn down the volume of your radio set. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Please be solution driven. Don't be flippant. Go straight to the point. You can also be part of the conversation on our social media platform. You can go to Facebook at TEKAN Peace Desk. The conversation is there. Please join the conversation. Our phone lines are open.
You can also send us an SMS on 080379.
You can also send us an SMS on 09. Okay. That's it.
All right, we have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello,
good morning.
good morning, John Red. Good morning, John Red, Joseph, and your guest.
Good morning.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. This is Comrade Marambulus Mandiu calling you from Dafo in Bokos.
Good morning, comrade.
Thank you so very much for having me. I think, very quickly,
Yes.
what we are having here on the plateau, let me tell you something, John Red. I always said this.
Yes.
If you look at the problems, the attack that is going on, on the plateau and in the middle belt, there are some people that feel that people that are occupying the space in the middle belt, they are not supposed to be the one to occupy it. So that is why they are trying to wipe them away. There is a course I read during my school time called Biogeography,
Okay.
which talks about, the succession of what plants and animals, as a result of either human and natural disasters. Let me tell you something. What we are having here in the Middle Belt is a human deliberate human act on their fellow human being. They want to wipe some people from their original abode, from their original homes, so that they can succeed them. That's actually what is happening here on the plateau and the Middle Belt as a whole. So I want to call on the well-meaning people of the Middle Belt and also Plateau State to wake up from their slumber and face about the reality on ground. That is my own take. Have a nice time. Thank you.
Have a very nice time too. Have a great day too. Thank you very much for your contribution. That was Comrade Bulus Mandiu calling from the Four Bokos. Yes, counting the cost. We have another call. Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Morning.
Yeah, this is Paul. I'm calling from Dadinkoa.
All right, Paul. Go ahead. We're glad you called.
Yes, my contribution is, if for sure the Defense Academy can be attacked, it's now telling us that we are no more safe. And the Chief of Defense Staff is trying to hide on his saying that it's armed robbery. So which one is armed robbery among these attack amongst? So that is to say, he himself, he have nothing to tell us. So really, I get to realize that we have nothing to hide on again. They know all what is going, but they have no idea. They have nothing to give us. So we are just trying to say that it's only God that will save us from all this rubbish that is going on in this country.
Amen.
Pray that God will save and God will console all the family that loves their loved ones.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul from Dadinkoa.
All right.
That's a perspective from Paul from Dadinkoa. Listener, when you call, just tell us where you're calling from and then your name and then turn down the volume of your radio set. We have a call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I am Comrade Antiba Solomon. I'm calling from Angwaru this morning.
We're glad you could call, Comrade. Go ahead.
Thank you. It is very unfortunate for the set of leaders we have today. Nigeria is becoming a laughing stock to other neighboring countries. What is bothering me today is that the government have the solution to this problem, but they just intentionally just want to suffer Nigerians. When I watched the video of the marriage of Mr. President's son in Kano, I saw more than 100 private jets owned by Nigerians.
Oh, you really saw that?
Hello?
All right. Go on, please.
Go ahead.
You see, what am I trying to say? Nigeria is very rich. I just says that these politicians have united themselves against Nigeria. Those who voted them, their politicians have united themselves against Nigeria. Who then will save Nigeria? Killings everywhere on a daily basis. This government says keep borrowing money. Nigeria is becoming a borrowing country because we borrowed after quarterly, and
Hello,
we
Comrade.
can see that they are no longer handling the insecurity that is ravaging the country. Sir, if you have a governor that will wake up and say you will always die for a single person who is Mr. President, and his people are not safe. As I'm talking to you today, Plateau State is not safe. Their target is Plateau. And I said this, if Mr. Governor, the governor of Plateau State, will not open his eye and see that those who voted him into power today are not safe, then he should better come up and defend his people. Autumn is defending his people because of what? Because he values his life. We value their life. Governor Lalo should value Plateau people, defend his people.
All right.
No any help will come from Abuja. Warriors, no interest on the Plateau.
All right. Thank you
They
very much.
just want to ravage this state. May God help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade, for that contribution.
That's a passionate one from Comrade Bulus Dadong and
Antiba.
there. We have a call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Good morning. This is Dung Keller calling from Bukuru.
All right, Dung, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead.
We have a problem in Nigeria. And the problem we have in Nigeria is a religious problem. We have a political problem.
Okay.
Whereas the common man on the street is being used as a joker.
Okay.
For those politicians to achieve their goals. And then the religious leaders also uses that to gain popularity or either for their own selfish interest. But I want to tell the government of Plateau State that they have failed the people of Plateau State. And also, when you look at what has happened, there's this man that was just that was intercepted in.
Hello. Well, I think we lose them.
We've lost that call from Dunkiller. Please do well to call us back again if we still have that time. We can just sneak in one or two calls.
Yes. Oh, and you can also be part of the conversation on our social media platform and on Facebook at TEKAN Peace Desk. We have a call.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Patrick calling from Rantia.
All right, Mr. Patrick, go ahead.
Yes, I feel my contribution this morning to the federal government of Nigeria is we have a lot of youths on the streets doing nothing. And the manpower in the military and the security force.
Hello, Mr.
It's
Patrick.
way below the armed forces, and the number, the strength of the armed forces is way below the number of bandits we have in this country. So the mass recruitment into the armed forces should be engaged, so that they will have more security agencies that will be able to man and monitor all these issues of banditry and insurgency. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. Well, we have the calls. I can see Doctor smiling at some of the calls. We'd like you to...
Joseph, let's sneak in this call, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, this is Dun Keller calling back again.
All right, please round up your thoughts quickly, Dun.
Yes, thank you so much. This particular man was caught in Benue or Nasarawa State. Yes, Nasarawa State. Popularly known as Likita. He said that he was on his way coming to Jos. He was caught with ammunition, and he said that his friends, his colleagues, are already on their way to Jos. So looking at what this person has said, come to questioning, what is the Plateau government doing? What synergy has he made? What effort has he made to find out where these people are coming from? What is their mission coming to Plateau State? He has not done anything. So that man will have, he will have gone to that state to arrest that man, so that man will give information on where these
All right,
people
Mr.
are going.
Patrick.
Sorry?
I think you've made your point. We'll actually shed more light on that as the program actually goes on. Please do listen.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for calling. Yes.
All right, Doctor, let's have your reactions to the calls.
Like I said before, while we started the program, if you listen to a cross section of the contributions and the trajectory, you would notice that these is a population of people that are largely very hot, and so saying you cannot excuse that feeling. We are hot. But you see, again, you can't have this conversation in its entirety without looking at the response of the state actors in all this conflagration. Having said that much, like I said, I can't but run away from that analogy of where we find ourselves. The system itself is structurally defective. There is a need more than ever for us to discuss how the entire structure itself works. Let me stray into a conversation that hasn't also recently reared its head. I listened to the Katsina State governor say that we're just mere governors by just nomenclature. The governors have always reiterated that they do not have powers over the security apparatus, the security architecture. But what hurts us at the very low level is the fact that you do not have that power, and you're not insisting. You're just not even wanting to have that conversation. Now, why am I saying so? When we're discussing elections, ballot box grabbing, CEOs of the state have powers over the security architecture.
True. During elections, the chief security officer of the state has the right to.
When we're discussing the PIA Act, the PIA bill, the PIA Act, and the 3%, 30%, all of a sudden, governors from different sections suddenly have a voice and are having this conversation.
From the Southeast.
Yes. When we go to the federal allocation meeting and we're about to dispense off cash, governors have voices. When we're talking about Paris Fund and monies that should come in, same governors have voice. Why don't they want to have that same voice in restructuring the security apparatus in such a way that they have control? Now, what you cannot tell those from Bassa, the Yugis, the Rukubas, the Fulanis that were dispatched to their maker,
the Anagutas,
and the Anagutas only recently, you cannot tell them that they stood on the sun several hours. You were asked to get PVCs and PVRs and all sorts of Ps for a man who swore allegiance from whatever part to protect them. That you can't do that because it hurts. There's no how you explain this away. And the fact that these are not isolated cases, sadly, as we want to believe, these are continuous repetitive action born out of that circle that we analyze as part of the cost. Because I would be playing an apostle, whoever their names are, to tell you that I'm on JayFm, blah, 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 I prophesy. No, it's not a prophecy. There will be another killing in the next 1 week. There will be another killing in the next 2 weeks. There will be another killing in probably a month. It will happen again and again and again.
Until we treat the root cause.
Until we get it right. Until we're willing to look ourselves in the eyes and say the hard truth. And unfortunately, you don't give that breather to the work that peace builders do. Peace itself is expensive, and we don't value what TEKAN is doing. We don't value what the PPPN is doing. We don't value what the PPBA is doing. We don't value how many persons are really preaching this peace with a true sense of getting the reconciliation that we so desire?
All right, we'll get to answer this question some other time, as we will have it now. Our time is fast spent, and we will be rounding up the program for today.
Well, we can't really end this conversation without commiserating with the good people of the Yelwa Zangam community behind the University of Jos, especially the Anaguta people. We stand with you in this trying time. We pray that the good Lord comfort you and uphold the community through these trying times.
Yes, like I'll say again, we may likely roll this conversation over again, and our heart goes out to the entire people of Plateau State for this loss and for what has been going on in the state. Please, let's call for peace. We call for calm. And before we leave, we always say, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons and daughters of God. On behalf of the entire team in TEKAN Peace Desk, my name is John White, and I'm saying let's do this again, same time next week, by the grace of God. Have a blessed day.